The All Progressives Congress 23-member restructuring committee presented its report to the party leadership, with the committee making several recommendations it said were based on opinions of Nigerians. Some of the key recommendations are resource control, making local governments an affair of states, constitutional amendments to allow merger of states, state police, state court of appeal, and independent candidacy. The committee, set up in August last year, is headed by Governor of Kaduna State Nasir El-Rufai, tasked to formulate the position of the APC on true federalism. Will they look fully at the 2014 Confab report with a view to implementing all or part of it? Is the APC ready to restructure the country? A call that came to fever pitch late last year. Data feeds are coming through in one place simultaneously on all our social media platforms, channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. You can follow us right now on m.channelstv.com. We've got all our platforms and social media covered. Be part of the show. Tweet at Gimba Umar CTV. Use the hashtag State of the Nation to air your thoughts on the subject. The nation sits on a keg of gunpowder. A stark warning by the former head of Nigeria's electoral empire, INEC. Professor Tahir Jega was speaking in Lagos on Thursday, giving out some useful information ahead of the 2019 elections, explaining why increased youth unemployment might lead to crisis in governance processes. We must creatively divert the energy of the youthful population for meaningful political strides, he says. Is the 2019 elections threatened by an unhealthy youth population? How quickly can the government address youth unemployment before 2019 election? If it fails, what then? The former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, in a letter to the president, Muhammadu Buhari, has asked him not to run for president in the 2019 general election, citing series of concerns why he feels the president should drop the idea. The president is currently attending the 30th AU summit in Addis Ababa. But will the president, Buhari, listen to the former president or not? What does this mean for the ruling APC? Should the letter bomb by Obasanjo be taken seriously or not? It's prime time here in Lagos, and this is State of the Nation. Welcome everyone in Nigeria and the rest of the world. I am Gimba Umar and this is State of the Nation. Be part of the show. Tweet at Gimba Umar CTV. Use the hashtag State of the Nation to be part of the show. We're following up on the biggest stories. Former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, the president, of course, Muhammadu Buhari, has asked him not to run for office for the 2019 presidential elections, citing poor performance in governance, poverty, insecurity, poor economic management, nepotism, what he calls also condonation of misdeeds and lack of progress and hope for the people of the country. In his letter, The Way Out, a clarion call for coalition for Nigerian movement. Roji Shikari is a governance and foreign policy analyst. He is also a Commonwealth scholar. He joins me from our Abuja studios. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the show at this time. You have watched the political space very closely indeed, because yourself, you're a politician. What do you make of Chief Obasanjo's letter to President Muhammadu Buhari?
Good evening, Gimba. Thank you for having me in your studios this evening. First of all, I will say it's a welcome development. And for the purpose of today's conversation, I will, as much as possible, focus on the message rather than the messenger. And I think the polity has been so quiet for a long time, and it's only normal for us to have such kind of activities to stir up the polity. And what this letter has done is to put everyone on its toes, not just the APC, but also all political stakeholders in the polity.
So is the former president Obasanjo searching for Buhari's successor from the point of view that lawmakers are being instrumental for his election in the first place?
Well, our constitution gives room for freedom of association, and if people change their jobs, people change even their cars and their wives. I think President Olusegun Obasanjo is entitled to his choice of presidential candidates. I think his letter, beyond a call to President Muhammadu Buhari, is also a call to all Nigerians, especially those that are concerned, that wish that this country moves forward. And I also believe that it's a call for everyone to wake up. If you really think that Nigeria is where it should be, or rather where it shouldn't be, then this is time for people to come together and join hands together. And talking about the coalition, I do not see the coalition movement more or less as looking for a substitute for the current president, but more or less a group of people that will say enough is enough. This is where we are, this is where we ought to be, and let's go in this direction.
You're speaking more like a politician right now, trying to evade some of the real issues. Let's go back to that again and try to get your views, because in that letter, former President Obasanjo talked about nepotism. He talked about lack of progress and hope for the people of this country, and then management of the economy, and some of the salient points that he rose. Do you feel that there is a stagnation, for instance, in our progress as a country, when you consider that progress has been made looking at the country's foreign reserves has risen to $40 billion by this government?
Well, using the word stagnation, I think you're being a bit lenient, because I want to believe that we've, as much as possible, actually retrogressed. If you ask the common man on the street what the foreign reserves are, he wouldn't have an answer for you. The question is, how much were people buying rice before this government came into power? And how much is a bag of rice now? That's one. Number two, how much was the dollar when this government came into power? How much is a dollar now to the naira? Now, when you look at these are issues that have a direct bearing on the common man, and not the issue of foreign reserves. If you ask businessmen what it takes, the cost of bringing in products or bringing in raw materials, how have business people fared in having their products on the shelf? And you agree with me that we are worse off.